from an undisclosed location high in the Hollywood Hills. It's time once again for the long shot. Come hell or high water. Tonight's episode, Amber gets a new job. And now, please welcome the host of the long shot, Sean Conroy. Thank you so much. Welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, good noon, good night, good dawn, good desk, good dusk. Welcome to The Long Shot. It is a podcast. I'm your host. My name is Sean Conroy. With me today on the podcast, Amber Kenny is here.
I'm here. I made it.
Joe Wagner is not here. Jamie Flam, not here. Just Amber and myself. So we'll see how this goes. Amber, how are you?
I'm good. I want to apologize for ducking out on you last minute.
I should certainly hope so. Yes.
It was just a crazy, stressful day. This isn't my checking in. I have an actual checking in.
No, great. No, this is the pre-checking in checking in.
Yes. We do an hour before checking in.
We do a pre-check. We're like TSA. We do a pre-check.
But we started taking Smudgy to a trainer who would work with him one-on-one without us.
For some reason, something just flashed in my head, which is Smudgy at a pec deck fly machine.
He needs it.
Just like training. Pull downs, lat pull downs.
Yes. But we wanted someone to work one-on-one with him without even us involved, because it feels like trainers in our limited experience seem to be very worried about communicating to us what they're doing. And we're like, we don't care. Just do it. We'll learn it later if we have to.
You do you, babe.
Yeah. And, to have 2 seconds together without him.
Yeah.
And so our first one-on-one like that was last Thursday when we record the podcast. And I think it was a crushing blow for the whole family.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Because in my head, I was like, can't wait. We're going to drop off this little puppy, and then Jeff and I are going to have a romantic lunch, and we're going to finally have time together, and then we're going to drive home, and it's going to be amazing. And
I'm really, really resisting my urges to be completely obscene right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Because I would never do that to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out that way. The trainer, we had such a limited amount of time because we both are working. This was technically our lunch hour.
Right.
And we had to rush out the door between Zoom meetings. And then when we got there, the trainer was still setting up, and we were like, TikTok.
I think I'm going to put the lat pull down machine over here,
yeah.
And then the barbells over here, so you can do curls over here. Is that cool?
Yeah. And she wanted to, and it sounds funny because we are paying her to help us, but she wanted to talk to us, and we were like, shut up. We want to get out of here. And
don't you understand? We have reservations at 12:30 at the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Well, and then we did drop him off, but we left so frazzled, and we were like, lunch, and then we couldn't find
I don't know. What do you want to get?
Exactly. And we ended up at Baja Fresh and just exhausted.
What do you mean you don't care? Of course you care. You always care.
And then after all of that, we had to do the same sort of rush frantic back home because we both had meetings immediately. And,
Well, nice of you to show up, Kenny.
Well, okay.
So I suppose you were out at a romantic lunch?
No, No, I wasn't. I was like, had a grumpy Baja Fresh.
Ooh, I love Baja Fresh.
and this is just
so many types of salsa. You get so many different types of salsa.
That's the thing. Jeff brought this up. The whole point of a restaurant like that is the salsa bar, and that's a thing that doesn't exist anymore
because of COVID.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest tragedy, probably.
They call that the salsa ripple effect. That was actually on Fox News tonight, is that a lot of this whole COVID thing is about shutting down the salsa bar at Baja Fresh. Yeah.
It's government's big plan. So all of that to say, like, that all happened and it's fine. More of why it was stressful will be my checking in, which we will get to later.
Oh boy.
But so it was just a day that in my head, I woke up being like, this is going to be a day that I finally get a break. And it was the exact opposite. So like
the day you got broken.
Yes. And then the 7 p.m. recording time.
No good.
We still haven't figured out the dinner of it all. I actually have today. I don't have dinner beforehand. That's how we do it. But like last Thursday, after that stressful day, Jeff was like slaving away in the kitchen and it was so hot. And he was like, it's going to be ready. And I'm like, I'm recording in 1 minute. And then Smudgy was barking and everyone was melting down. And I just was like,
okay, 1 minute. Well, I guess I'll let the baked Alaska cool. It's fine if it sits out for an hour and a half.
Oh no.
What happened?
I'm at my husband's desk and I spilled some water and it looks like it was on an important note of his.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Note to self.
Oh, boy.
Write letter to Baja Fresh about salsa bar.
Oh no. I'm really testing him and how much he likes me.
So far, so good, but the test is not over.
I know. We've got a lifetime of tests. Oh boy. Okay. Hopefully that's fine. It's hot out. It'll dry. I'm just like hanging it.
This is a cliffhanger, by the way. This makes this an intense episode because
the clock is ticking.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. Like, are we going to come back next week and Amber's going to be like, "Oof, that was no good."
Yeah, I've got to find a new place.
No bueno. New place. I have to find a new place to live with Jeff. I mean, we're still living together, but yeah. it was weird. He took the paper and he threw it down, and it spontaneously combusted and burned down the building. Everybody's fine. Everything's fine, but we just have to find a new place to live.
But yeah, all of that. It's not telling that story that way. It's not encapsulating the frantic, insane energy that was in the room. And it truly felt like if I had left to podcast for 2 hours, it felt like I was
saying fuck you.
Yeah, to my family. And it felt like I needed to be there for them. And
I sensed that in the moment that we spoke to each other.
And we all melted down
felt that.
a lot more after that. So yeah, it needed to happen.
I definitely felt that frantic tension in that brief 30-second conversation we had. You're
like, how are you? I didn't even have my picture up. And I was just like, I can't do this. But so I'm sorry. Normally I would give notice. So. It was literally in that moment that I had to make the call.
Yeah. Well, I mean, life is like that, right? You can't plan for everything. Things come up and you just have to improvise.
Sure. And you're good at that.
Well, some people say yes, some people say no. I haven't done it in a while. We'll see if I still have it.
You're not supposed to say no, though, what I've heard.
Yes, and if you do, it's a problem.
Okay, I'm trying to...
Sean, I thought we weren't supposed to say no, and he said no to me. How am I supposed to deal with that if he says no? Okay, you're misunderstanding the concept.
It's not literally the words N-O can't be uttered.
How can I explain this?
It is a tough bridge to gap, I guess. If you don't understand it, you just don't understand it.
No, I mean, it is the hardest thing for people. It puts people so in their heads. Like it's a shorthand for being accepting of what other people say to you on stage. So the easiest way to say it is just don't say no. And it fucks people up so badly. But I think I actually feel like improv is a great example of any process of learning, because you go through a number of stages. Like you start out just watching improv and you're like, I mean, you might be like, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. You could be like the guy who came with, well, I don't even want to tell that story because it's too uncomfortable for me, but people watch it and they're like, oh, this is so funny. It looks like it could be really fun. I'd like to try it. I want to do it.
It looks like a breeze.
Yeah. And then you do it and you take a level 1 class and you do it. And the teacher is like, that was great. You're great. I love you. You're wonderful. And everybody else is like, oh, so nobody knows what they're doing or what they're just having fun. They're like putting anything out there and teach. And then you get to level 2 and they're like, actually, there is a little bit of technique to it. And structure. Here's some rules you have to follow. And then everybody goes, oh my God, I have to follow the rules. I'm not following the rules. And like, I don't get it. And then eventually you start to follow the rules and you're like, I'm following the rules. I'm following the rules. I know how to do it. And you're aware that you're following the rules you're doing. And then eventually you get to the point where you're not even thinking about it before. I mean, I always use this analogy for everything, but it works in improv where I'm like, it's like if I gave you a ball and said, there's a basket over there, make up a game and have fun. You would do something and maybe it would be okay. But then if I said, okay, your goal is just to get that ball in the basket. That's all you have to do is get the ball in the basket. That would be fun for a while. But then if I was like, oh, by the way, there's other rules. These are the boundaries. You can't go outside that. You can't turn your hand over when you're dribbling, but you have to be dribbling when you're moving with the ball. You can't just carry it. And if you pick the dribble up, you have to stop and you can pass it to somebody else. And from behind this line is 3 points, up here is 2 points. But if somebody touches you when you're shooting, you shoot from this line, all of a sudden you're like, wait, what?
There's a lot in your head.
But there's nobody who's playing basketball for the most part. Who's going, I have to dribble. I have to, you just, it becomes part of your, so I feel like that's what improv is like, you have to get through all those stages and then it just becomes a thing you do and enjoy and have fun with.
Totally. I think there's also a level of, like, don't think about an elephant. The first thing you do is think about an elephant. Because I remember in very early, like, improv 101, it'd be simple. Like, just do a scene and don't ask any questions. And 85% of the people.
How's it going?
Yeah, 100% of the time.
Where are we?
Right. And it's like, it's almost because you were told not to, but it's the first thing that comes out.
I remember discussing this extensively years ago with a very talented improviser that I knew and was dating at the time. And she talked about, it's like watching a kid who's just learning how to ride a bike coming towards you on a path. We were living in New York City, and it was like, if you're in Central Park and you see a kid coming towards you and they don't quite know how to ride the bike, you can see them going, I don't want to hit this person. I don't want to hit this person. And they just can't help themselves because they're so focused on it that they're riding right at you, desperately trying not to hit you, Totally. So if you put that thought in your head, like I remember a show, I wasn't even at this show, but it became sort of a thing that everybody talked about when Eddie and I were in Chicago City Limits. Eddie Pepitone, former host of the show, now
heard of him,
a comic. I don't know what he's doing. But he, there was like an industrial show they're doing, like a corporate show. And they came backstage before the show. And they said, guys, this is corporate. So, just no swearing, okay? No, don't,
I
And
know
so
where this is
yeah, of course. The first thing was like Eddie was like, these fucking people fucking sucking a dick and eating a pussy, fucking sucking dick and fucking sucking dick.
because it was like the seed was planted.
The people in charge were like, what? I mean, the people in charge of our group were like, what is wrong with him?
Like he doesn't even improvise like that normally.
Yeah. Like it was like he was maliciously saying fucking sucking dickin' and pussy. And it wasn't that. It was just an unconscious like brain thing,
Right.
So yeah, I get it. And it does. You're right. Every time in lower levels, if you say like, guys, let's try not to. So I eventually stopped doing that. Like I was like not saying don't do this because that would guarantee that people would do it.
Right.
So that's improv. That's how you learn to do improv, folks. If you came in here for the long shot improv lessons, there it goes. And
you're
good luck with
certified.
that. Yeah, because improv is a great way to make a living. It's a great thing to hang your hat on career-wise. By the way, this is a crisis I'm having right now.
Oh, no.
This is a fucking crisis, an existential crisis. And I'm kind of joking, but I'm kind of not joking. Like to the point where like it sounds like a joke, but in reality, it meant that I couldn't get out of bed for 2 days.
Oh, God.
Because I'm like, okay, so this thing has happened for the last year and a half.
What are we talking about?
This, I just have had trouble with the cable. Like I can't get the connection to.
I asked a question.
Yeah. But see, in that case, it was okay because I was supposed to clarify what I would. Yeah. No,
we were on the same page with the joke.
Yeah. No, we weren't. Yeah, so this COVID thing, and like it feels to me at times like it has wiped out any significance behind anything I've ever done. Like comedy, improv, stand-up, all of that stuff for me right now is gone. It's not a thing. And ostensibly, that's what I was putting my life into for years and years, in a way that some might argue it interfered with other aspects of my life, like normal relationships and, any semblance of, I don't know, thinking about a financial future and, all that kind of stuff. Now that stuff is just gone for me. And maybe some of it comes back. I just have no idea. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with any of that stuff. But also I'm like, so if that's possible, then what was the fucking point of any of that stuff? So answer me that, Amber Kenny.
No, thank you.
Or do you want to go to Baja Fresh for some salsa?
It sounds like it's very existential because this isn't helping, but like there isn't a point to anything. You just have to like assign meaning on some level because truly, if you truly boil everything down to the
sure, we're all going to be stardust in a couple of years.
Like nothing, everything's meaningless. That's not a great view.
But I think that is the right view.
It's right, but it's not going to get you out of bed in the morning. So you have to just kind of assign meaning to something. Or
not assign meaning, but what I was thinking of doing was developing some kind of device that just tips my mattress up so that I have no choice but gravity to get me out of bed in the morning.
Perfect.
So one or the other, meaning or device.
I mean, you could try both. Why not? Double duty.
The meaning / device.
Meaning device.
Yeah, but anyway, it's fucking grim. All this shit is so fucking grim,
Yeah, it's been hitting me pretty hard this week because on some level it felt like COVID's wrapping up. Like I know it's not over, but like we're closing in on it, and at least currently in Los Angeles, I can't speak everywhere. It feels like nah, it's back and better than ever. And no end in sight. And that's tough. It's tough stuff.
I agree 100%, or I agree 99.5%, which is the number of people who are unvaccinated that are the ones getting. Anyway, I'm with you. Like, it feels like we went through a phase where everything was like, okay, things are cool, and it's a little weird, but we're going to get back to normal. We're getting back to normal. Things are going to be. I mean, I don't know if this was true in your head, but at least in my head, and Jamie just brought this up via email the other day, was like, if you guys want to get together and do a live episode at some point, by which he means not live in terms of an audience, but live in terms of
in the
us
same room
being together. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, we're to the point where we can do that now. And I feel like that point has passed. That ship has sailed. That rocket has launched. That cork has popped. That apple has fallen off the tree.
Okay, we'll accept
it. That fruit has ripened. That dog will hunt. That Elvis has left the building. But you know what I mean? Like, it feels different now. It feels like that is no longer true.
Yeah.
Which is both disappointing and disheartening. And how do you say more than both? Like, both is two. How would you say? Which is thrice disappointing? No, that's not right.
Maybe just like, I don't know.
It's making me apprehensive was the other thing I was going to say. I texted one of my brothers today because I have a plane ticket in the beginning of August, two and a half weeks from now, to fly to Virginia to go to our family vacation in Virginia. And I know everybody's planning on going. Everybody is vaccinated except for 2 kids out of the 21 of us. And I am now considering not going, because I would fly there. It's 2 flights, which means 3 airports. If you do the math, like, there's a connecting there's one.
No, I get it. I'm on board.
Yeah. Thanks for being on board. We'll be taking off in just a few moments.
I'm good at word problems.
And it's like, chances are very high that nothing would happen, but they're not 100%.
Right.
And as I discussed last week on the program, I did a whole analogy with Russian roulette and 2 guns, and one's loaded and one's not loaded. And do I take the loaded gun or the not loaded gun? And I am so in favor of the not loaded gun. And so
definitely.
The other gun only has 1 bullet in it, by the way. It's got 6 chambers, but only 1 bullet, which gives you a percentage chance of it's a low percentage of that. But the other gun has no bullets in it, and there's a 0% chance.
Right.
So am I just going to go with the 0% chance?
Well, my whole thing is, it's maddening to be so careful and so safe for a year and a half to just, like, for some arbitrary time deadline, to just possibly risk everything. Like, what was that year and a half for? I don't know. Like, it.
Right. And it's not over. It's not over the way we thought it was over a month ago.
Right.
Which I didn't think it was over, but I thought it was over.
Yeah. Like, over light.
Yeah. Not over easy, not over hard, over light, not over. Right.
Well, and I keep hearing about breakthrough cases, people who are getting Delta who are vaccinated. And I know it's not as likely, and I know it's not as dangerous, but it's not, like, to your point, it's not 0%.
Right. And I do think that there is again, it's another confusing thing because, yes, we're hearing about breakthrough cases. I don't know how big the percentage of that is. I also feel like the breakthrough cases that I'm hearing about are people saying, I got sick. I didn't go to the hospital. I didn't, it wasn't life-threatening in any way. It wasn't whatever, but I got sick. And then other people saying, but it was way worse than I thought it would be. But I just don't know what that means because that's also such a personal thing. Like something that, I could easily put up with and be like, oh, this feels shitty, could be to somebody else like, oh, I was in bed for 3 days. See, I don't get out of bed because I still don't have that device. So if I'm in bed for 3 days, that's just one extra day.
Right. This is extremely anecdotal and not scientific and word of mouth.
Maybe we should change the name of the podcast to Extremely Anecdotal and Not Scientific. Because that works as the name of this podcast.
Sure. It's long.
What was the name of that book? Extremely Close and Incredibly Loud, or Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, or something? It was one or the other.
But a coworker's roommate's dad.
Oh boy.
See what I'm saying? I know. But passed away this week from COVID and was vaccinated. Again, this is so...
A coworker's roommate's dad. So immediately, because I have a science background. Like I almost got my master's in science education, which is debatably scientific because it's teaching. It's not actually, but here's a couple of questions that I would want to ask if I was in that situation. No, I get it.
I prefaced it with, I understand. This is like word of mouth times a million.
I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying, like, how old was this person?
Right.
I've also heard of numerous cases where someone died and had COVID,
but they weren't necessarily
right. It was like they died of something else, but were affected, affectionate with COVID at the time, so I guess I'm just, I'm saying, like, let's not go spreading these rumors, Amber.
I said it was extremely anecdotal, but
extremely anecdotal and incredibly close.
But point is, I've heard it.
Yeah. No, I know. And that's one of the, there's a couple things I would say about that. I mean, that's one of the problems with the information ecosystem we're living in right now. Ecosystem, not ecosystem. I mean, there is an ecosystem, but ecosystem is that there is so much information out there and so much of it is being pushed from both sides. It's true, it's false, it's not right, it doesn't matter, statistics, like it's just relentless. And so it again comes down to like, what are your critical thinking skills and what do you decide about those things?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be honest, when it felt like things were back to normal-ish, I stopped paying attention for a tick. Like I needed a break.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, I was like, oh God, like, what? No, what?
Right. Yeah. And, part of it is that we live in Los Angeles and there is now this mask mandate that has come back into effect, I guess you would say. Effect or affect? Is it effect? That's come back into defect. Yeah. And I think that was for me, that was kind of like, holy shit, what is happening? Like when I found out about that, because that was right when I was going to have my cookout here on Saturday.
I know.
And
it's like you had like an invite and like the next day you're like, just kidding.
Yeah. Because I heard that and I was like, what the fuck is going, like, I don't know. And it boils down to also, here's another part of it is what is your level of risk management? Like, how much are you willing to risk? And I am at the low end of risk willingness. Like, I'm not into risk.
Same.
At least with other people's stuff. For me, I don't care, but like when I said that thing about Saturday and then canceled it, I was like, it would kill me if somebody came to this thing and then got sick because somebody else was sick,
Yeah.
But, the decision to go, I think the decision for me to go to Virginia or not is going to come down to me deciding whether or not I want to risk it and whether or not everybody's okay with me risking it and whether or not they feel like risking it.
Right.
I can already tell. I mean, I don't know if you can tell by the way I'm saying it. I can already tell that I'm like 99% leaning towards not going.
But then people are going places all the time.
Right.
Again, that's anecdotal. That's not like proof that it's the right thing to do, but people are doing it.
People are doing stuff. Yeah. I mean, I had a friend, one of my favorite people in the entire world is here in LA right now, and I still have not had a chance to see them. And I called them, I guess, yesterday and was like, hey, let's do something. And then like a couple hours later, they called back and they were like, we're going to go to the Ace Hotel downtown. We're going to go to the pool at the Ace Hotel. And it was this person and their partner and their child and their brother and their brother's friend. And, it's going to be a bunch of people going and whatever. And my instant response is very resistant to doing that, which means I should probably do it because I don't do anything at this point. And knowing that means that it's become sort of an issue in my head.
Sure.
And I should try to force myself to get beyond that because I was like, going there means being outside, and outside, as we know, is reasonably safe at this point.
Right.
So I was like, I should do this. I should do it, whatever. And then I went to the Ace Hotel website and, because I wanted to know if there was a dress code. Does that make me too old fashioned that I'm like trying to find out if there's a dress code for the Ace Hotel? Like, I felt like I was like a character from the 1960s. Pool. Yeah, it's a swimming pool. Like,
the dress code's wear a bathing suit.
Right. Like, sir, I see you're not in a business suit. You're not allowed to go off the diving board. You can go in the shallow end, but not, But for some reason, I felt compelled to look up the dress code because I was like, how am I supposed to do this?
You have to wear your nice flip-flops.
Well, so many things. But so I looked it up and it said, we are only allowing parties of 6 with reservations, whatever, make a reservation, party of 6. And I was like, I can't do it because I'm going to show up when I'm going to show up. I'm not going to show up at the exact same time as these other people. They probably already have more than 6 people. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing they already have more than 6 people. So anyway, then I texted them back and I was like, and we had already had this whole discussion where my friend was like, you have to come, you have to get yourself out of the house. Like, not in a like you're being crazy kind of way, but just, yeah. Like, could just come. Like, it'll be good for you. And you're aware of this. And so I was like, you're absolutely right. Like, so anyway, I texted them and I was like, I can't because of this, whatever. And they were like, yeah, like my brother says that's totally outdated, but I totally get it. And like, do whatever you have to do, whatever. And I was just like I could still try to go, but like, I just was already in my head going, and part of it is that thing I have of being like such a fucking rule follower with things like that. Like, I just don't want to get into a hassle, like show up and have them go, yes, sir, your name is not on the list here.
Right,
and be like, Yeah, but I heard it was outdated, that I didn't have to have a reservation. Like, I fucking hate that shit. I know some people are really comfortable living in that space, and I just am not. So anyway, I didn't go, and it was a bummer, But this is why I was talking about you mentioned wearing the right flip-flops. I just got a new pair of slides. I never wore, like, I always hated flip-flops because they have that thing that goes in between your toes, and it always ripped my foot apart.
Yes.
And it drove me crazy.
Flip-flops, but I love a slide.
Right. So I had this great pair of slides, and then I couldn't find them. And I assumed that I must have brought them to New York when I was there over the winter and just left them there.
Them up.
I took a picture of them before, though. No, I just assumed that I left them at my parents' house. And so I ordered a new pair, and the new pair was not, they were like too squishy. Like they were too, they were like I don't know, they just weren't exactly what I wanted. Anyway, last night I couldn't find my iPad, so I got down on the floor and was crawling around looking under the couch where it was not. But there were the slides. There were the ones that I had been missing for months and months. I was like, they were under there the whole fucking time. So in a sense, it was exciting. But on the other hand, I was like, why did I buy the new ones? Why didn't I just look harder for the old ones? The old ones were there the whole time. Anyway, that's the slide story. It's very anecdotal.
It's good.
Welcome to another episode of Anecdotal and Unscientific. But anyway, I don't see this. I think you already said this. I don't see this getting easier over the course of the next 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever,
Well, they're talking about us going back into the office now.
Mm-hmm.
But because of nothing's definite, everything's like wiggly and amorphous. And so that also creates stress. Like if it was just like on September 1st, this is happening, you could at least start wrapping your brain around that is what's happening. But everything's like rumor and maybe and conjecture. But especially with the Delta variant, how it is, I've heard that anytime that if we don't have your own office, which I don't have my own office, you have to be wearing a mask.
All the time.
All of the time. So I would be sitting at my desk for 8 hours wearing a mask. We're also not supposed to be in the same room. So if there's a meeting, it's still a Zoom. So it's like, why do I need to go into the office for this? Like
Is there a possibility that the meeting would not be on Zoom, but not in the same room? That it would just be people in different parts of the office yelling
shouting.
To each other? Yeah.
Maybe we'll do outdoor meetings.
Amber, it's your turn to do the presentation.
I don't know. But like it just feels truly, why go back then? Like legitimately, is it just so that they know that we're working? Because we're effing working our butts off. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, and this was another thing. I just read a whole thread on Twitter from a doctor who got sick, who was vaccinated, partner was vaccinated. They were going to visit two of their friends who were both vaccinated. They had 2 kids with them, but they knew they were going to be in the car the whole time, so they would be fine. So they got to the place they were visiting the people. One of the people they were visiting had a little cough the night they got there, but they were like, we're vaccinated. It's not major. Who cares? It's not a big deal. It's probably nothing. Turned out that person had COVID. The kids got COVID. The adults got COVID. Everybody got COVID. And so the point of this thread was wear your mask all the time, even when you're around people who are vaccinated, because you just don't know who's going to give it to who. And so everybody should be wearing masks all the time, anytime they're indoors. Yeah. With other people around. So anyway, it just feels, and here's the other part of it. And I was talking about the information ecosystem, the information system. One of the problems, and this is a much bigger problem than just with COVID, and we all know this already, is that there are people, I don't totally understand it, but there are lots of people making lots of money by tricking people at this point, by lying to people, by making them believe things that aren't true. Because if you don't believe in vaccines, there's lots of t-shirts you can buy that tell people what your stance is. If you think COVID is a hoax, you can buy bumper stickers to put on your car that say COVID. Like, there's a lot of money to be made. And this, I think, is ultimately why the country is so broken. It's never going to be fixed at this point, because there's just too much profit involved in causing people to believe things that aren't true.
There's no incentive in peace and sensibility.
No, make people angry, make them afraid, and they will give you money. It's as simple as that. Anyway, welcome to Angry and Afraid with Sean and Amber. So feel free to send us money.
Really a fun romp.
By the way, do you think we should call the podcast Extremely Wiggly and Incredibly Amorphous?
Yes.
I think that would be a good name for a show. All right, well, let's get into it. This is the other thing I was going to say. What reminded me of this? You were talking about, who told you that anecdote about the person who died even though they were vaccinated?
A coworker.
It was your coworker's roommate's father, right?
Mm-hmm. Already that sounds like bullshit.
No, but it just reminded me of my new favorite commercial on TV.
Okay.
Which, tell me this is not so funny. It's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be truthful, but I have to imagine they're a husband and wife, a couple, older couple, in the kitchen, and the wife goes, "Hey, do you remember Rick, my sister's neighbor?" And the husband goes, "The 76-year-old guy who runs marathons?"
No.
And I just love that so much, because I'm like, who knows how old anybody is, much less your sister's neighbor.
Siblings' neighbors.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how old any of my brothers are. Like, I couldn't, I could do the math. Like, I could go, like, I know Chris is a year younger. I know Greg is 11 years younger. I know that off the bat. So I could do the math, which I would probably fuck up because I just had a birthday. So I'm getting my own birthday wrong.
Right.
And their birthday now is shifted by a year, probably, in relation to mine. Anyway, I just think that's so funny that the guy knows his exact age and what he's known for.
That is really, it's also funny because when in life, like, do you ask anyone how old they are? Like, that's such like an elementary school like friendship starter. But like in adulthood, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, hey, Rick, nice to meet you. How old are you?"
Yeah, we have to assume that this Rick guy,
right?
Everybody talks about him because he's 76 and runs marathons. Yeah. So they're like, "Hey, this is Rick. He lives 2 houses down from my sister, and he runs marathons. And guess how old he is? 76." Why would you say 77? He's only 76. I know, I understand he looks 77, but please don't guess older than he actually is. But the best part of it is he goes, okay, so let me do it again. She goes, "Remember Rick, my sister's neighbor?" And the guy goes, "The 76-year-old guy who runs marathons?" And the wife goes, "Not anymore." Like, and he immediately knows that Rick has died. Like, he doesn't even go like, "What happened?"
An asshole for breaking the news that way.
Yeah, I wonder if there's other versions of that commercial where the guy just starts crying.
What's the product?
It's for like a non-stick skillet, which I don't really get the connection. No. If he'd been using this skillet, he'd still be alive today. No, it's for life insurance.
Oh.
So then it goes like, "Not anymore." And he goes, "Oh man, hey, we're not going to have that conversation about getting life insurance again, are we?" And she goes, "No, because we already got it from this company that you at home should get your life insurance." It's the fucking craziest, weirdest conversation.
How married people talk.
Because it's also like, wouldn't the conversation just be that the wife goes,
I'm glad we have health insurance.
One of my sister's neighbors died, and it really made me think about life insurance, so I got us some.
Yeah.
Instead of making it this weird, oblique. Yeah. He died. He died, and guess what he didn't have? Fun in life? A legacy? No. Life insurance.
Oh, man. That's really funny. Well, also, like, right now, I couldn't tell you the ages of any of my neighbors.
What about your sister's neighbors?
I don't have a sister.
So they're not even aiming the commercial at you. I don't have sisters either. And I'm like, how am I supposed to relate to these people?
I have 2 sister-in-laws, but I definitely don't know their neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or their ages or what they do for fun.
Or if they're dead or alive.
Or if they have life insurance.
Right. But now I'm curious.
Right. Hey, listen, I saw this commercial on TV. Do you have life insurance? Who are you? I'm the sister-in-law of the person who lives 2 houses down from you.
And I'm 38.
Oh, 38. Do you run marathons? I have. One time I ran 17 miles in my living room.
No, it was a full marathon.
Oh, it was a full marathon. Okay, I'm closing the door now. Anyway, we always start the show with a segment that we like to call checking in. So let's do that now. And why don't we start today with Amber? Amber, sure. Checking in. What's going on?
I have big news.
Oh boy.
I got a new job.
Congratulations.
That was like a sarcastic gasp. I'm pretty
No. Go on.
It's big news for me.
Do tell. No, I mean that's great. I mean, yeah.
Well,
good.
I'm pretty proud of myself because I worked at the bank for so long.
Effing long is what they would say. That's what they would say on the news now. Everybody says effing all the time on the news because everything. The news? Yeah, because everything they're quoting, the person is saying fucking. Like they're like, the former president said, I don't know what these effing people were doing. He didn't use the word effing. I'll tell you that, So anyway, you worked at the effing bank for so long. And I was pretty unhappy
all of the time, most of the time. And I got out and I got to DreamWorks, but I started recently. I'm just past 5 years at DreamWorks, which is
holy shit,
right?
Yes,
insane.
God Almighty, my life is just passing me by.
I know, but I started getting a little like antsy in my pantsy and scared that I was going to do the same thing that I did at the bank, where like the pattern of just staying because it's too scary to do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in that development program that I told you about.
I remember.
And a lot of it is about refining, telling your professional story and
reading the script off the screen.
Right. And having confidence in your professional story and your unique professional story.
Mm-hmm.
And also like being introspective about what your strengths are and what you enjoy doing. And that process, it came to light that I am not in the correct job for me.
They're transferring you over to the bank office.
Yes, I'm going back to the bank. So
ow, we got it. We fucked up. We put Amber in the marketing department. But she's got bank experience. She needs to be at the bank. Send her to the vault. Get her in the vault.
No, this was all internal. This was all in my brain.
Oh.
There weren't people jumping out and saying, Amber, you shouldn't work in that position anymore. Like everyone was very happy with the job I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it made me, question things. And also that voice in your head of like, you're doing it again, you're staying in a place that isn't right for you just because it's safe, like you're gonna get stuck, like, all of that. So I started applying to a lot of things, and I have
internally or externally?
Both.
Mm-hmm.
And
Rotary Club.
Yes, and I got
VFW.
I have a couple mentors now that I really like. Hilariously, I kind of thought that I would meet with the mentor and I'd be like, so what should I do? But the mentors were like, so you got to figure out what you want to do. And I was like, damn it. I kind of wanted someone to do that step for me.
Right. Put it out there for me. Come on.
But unfortunately, that is something that you need to do yourself. And all of that said, all of the external and internal applications and having some conversations with different people within the department, it kind of felt like it wasn't happening. So I was like, okay, fine. This job is fine.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Conversations with People Within the Department.
So basically, I kind of detached. I released.
You're like, whatever happens, happens.
And I actually was having conversations with people that I have a good relationship with that used to work at DreamWorks that went on to other companies, just to be like, hey, how do you like that company? What, just, and also like letting people know that I'm interested in possibly moving on. And
what do you like about it there? They got room over there for people.
So I had my first like real serious.
What kind of lunches you got?
I had my first real serious conversation with a friend about that, and it was really sweet. She's like, honestly, Amber, I'm surprised it took you this long to get here.
Oh, fuck you. Why didn't you say something then, you motherfucker?
No, but reaching out to people for help like this was heartwarming in a way I didn't expect, because I dread that. I avoid it at all costs. I don't ask for favors. I don't want to put anyone out. It makes me uncomfortable. But everyone was like, unless they were blowing smoke, it felt very affirming, like that they believe in me and that they're excited for me, and it just felt good for our relationship, even if nothing happens for
our relationship.
Yeah, me and you. Mm-hmm. And so I had that first real adult conversation about career stuff and was like, okay, I'm chugging along. It's going to be a slow process. And the next day, someone in a different department within DreamWorks marketing was like, hey, do you have a second to talk? And then it was like, somebody's leaving. I've heard rumblings that you might want something more creative. Would you be interested in the role? So I basically got a job the day after I had that conversation with someone externally. And so I'm not going far. I'm still within DreamWorks marketing.
The secret.
My old role was, I'm still in it. Now I'm doing both jobs for a little while. So it's been, that's why Thursday was tough.
That's one of the reasons.
So my old job was like asset manager for marketing, and I'm going to now be Do
you ever use abbreviations for your title?
No.
Because if you were an asset manager and you used abbreviations, it would be ass man.
That's right.
I'm just saying.
It's good.
Nothing.
Blink, blink.
Yeah, that's true. It would be that, but we don't do that.
And that's not, yeah.
So you used to be ass man, but now you're ass man, and what else?
No, and a digital marketing manager. So I'm going to be running the social media for all DreamWorks.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's a big company.
Yeah.
That's a lot of social media.
Yeah. With real talk, zero experience at social media except personal social media, but they know me and they know that I'm capable and they know that I'm smart and they know that I'm creative and they know that I know the company. Like they don't have to train me from scratch and I know the shows and stuff. So it's an adventure.
You've also run the social media for the Long Shot Podcast Company.
Oh yeah, and it's doing a great job. It's killing. I'm sweating now. but yeah, so it's been pretty intense because I've known about this for about a month, but my direct manager didn't want me to tell anyone for reasons like HR reasons that are murky and confusing to me. So I like on the down low was learning my new job, doing my full new job, and then also trying to figure out like a handbook and ways to explain what my job is to the next person.
Mm-hmm.
And but now it's sort of all in the light, so it's a lot more. It's lighter. It's psychological.
Look, Bobby, if you're going to be an ass man, this is what you got to know. Okay, I'm going to be a dime man from now on. Digital media manager.
Big man.
Dig me, man.
But yeah, it's a lateral move. It's not like a promotion, but I'm just excited to learn something different. And I'm truly just proud of myself for not getting stuck.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be here forever either. It was just a nice reminder.
Okay, we've only been here for...
It's been a while.
I was going to say only, but it's not only. We've been here a while.
I know.
No, that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Especially because it seems like you feel like this is closer to where you want to be.
Right.
You know?
I get to be a little creative.
Mm-hmm.
I get to guide campaigns. Oh, hi, little guy. Do you want to be on the podcast? No. Smudgy came to visit.
So does this mean like you're going to be doing like TikTok stuff and you're going to be like, physically fit, like all those kind of things?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be the one. I'm not like the face of DreamWorks. I wasn't like hired to be a spokesperson, but Shrek
used to be ass man. Now, dig me, man. Killing it. Dog. Husband. Dinner. Podcast.
Wet note.
Fuck off.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm learning a lot, and I'm really excited, and I'm proud of myself because I don't know if it's like where I am as a person with self introspection or age or that development program I was in or all of it, but I could see myself a year ago, 2 years ago with what's being thrown at me just being like, ah! But I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. Like it's going to be fine.
Right.
It's going to be fine.
Which is growth. Yeah.
Well, and it's also perspective. Maybe it's the pandemic too. Like it's perspective of like, the DreamWorks Twitter might not be perfect for one day. Like who
gives
cares?
a shit?
Yeah.
Hey, Amber, Bob Universal here. I listened to your podcast, and
That's not the attitude
we're looking for. When we made you the Digby Man, we did not foresee that your attitude would be who gives a shit. Okay.
But and also that digital team, like when I say I'm going to hang out with work friends, it's really the digital team. So I'm just excited that my department now are people I really like. Like they're really smart and they're really capable and they're funny and cool. And it sounds like I'm talking crap on my old department, and I'm not doing that.
I'm just saying these people are funny and cool. I'm not saying anything about the funniness and coolness that didn't exist in my old department.
Right.
I'm not talking about that.
It hasn't come up.
100% that's not something I want to mention, is how this department is funny and cool, and that department was not funny nor cool.
But I already have to, this weekend, I have to work. I have to cover a screening of a movie. And
are you allowed to say what the movie is?
Yeah, it launched already. It's Troll Hunters: Rise of the Titans. It's just it's a Netflix movie. It's a Guillermo del Toro joint.
Troll Hunters: Rise of the Titans. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a lot going on in that movie.
There's a lot going on. Well, it's the end.
That Guillermo del Toro has some imagination. He's got a lot going on, and now he's got a movie with a lot going on.
Well, it's we've had a trilogy of TV shows. We had a Troll Hunters TV show that had 3 or 4 seasons, and then we had a show called Three Below, and then we had a show called Wizards. Mm-hmm. And they all were in the same world, and some of the characters had crossover sometimes. Anyway, this movie's like the
wrap up of the whole thing.
Yeah, so it truly is a lot, because there's a lot of storylines.
Like, you have to be aware of a lot of things going in. Yes. It's good. Are you open to a fourth part of this whole thing? Can I pitch? Are you in a department where you can make decisions? Can I pitch you something?
I can pitch directly to Guillermo del Toro.
Because I have some ideas that I want to run by him.
Okay.
And if you can, make that happen. You want to do it?
Is this where we're doing it?
If you can make that happen, I would be fully convinced that you are the right choice for the new Dig Me Man.
I'm not going to be a Dig Me Man forever. This is a stepping stone.
No. I get it. This is just a rung in the ladder. It goes Ass Man, Dig Me Man. Then there's a couple more rungs. Then
wait, what's the me in Dig Me Man?
Digital media manager?
Oh no, I'm just a digital marketing manager.
Oh, Digma Man.
Digmar Man.
Okay, my mistake. Then never mind. I was talking to the wrong person this whole time.
I'm sorry, I sound ridiculous.
No, I think it would be great. Like, we've had Troll Hunters and all the other shit you were talking about, which who the fuck knows what that is. But can we do, what about Troll Gatherers? Like, I feel like the troll gathering population is neglected. It's about an agrarian society where they're involved with trolls, but they grow things. There's always things growing, and they're settling down. It's the beginning of civilization. That's what causes them to stay in one city. It's not cities yet. It's like it's hamlets, really. It's hamlets.
And there's little conflict. It's more just sort of a slice of life.
It would be called Troll Gatherers: The Rise of the Hamlets. And one of them, unfortunately, this is just. Are these animated shows? Are they all animated shows?
I work for DreamWorks Animation.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the this is just a bad, it would be called Troll Gatherers: The Rise of the Hamlets, and one of the Hamlets would just be Kenneth Branagh with a skull in his hand the whole time.
Perfect. But real. Like, that would be live action.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, but yeah, it would be great to have him. He'd be wearing the same outfit he wore in Dunkirk for no reason.
I missed it.
He just was a soldier in that. He wasn't, he was nothing.
He wasn't Hamlet.
He wasn't Hamlet.
But Hamlet was a soldier, wasn't he?
Everybody was a soldier at that time. They all were soldiers.
See?
I'm
sweating so much.
I didn't want to say anything, but yeah. You're so uncomfortable with the responsibility I've placed on you of setting up a meeting between me and Guillermo del Toro.
No, I got it.
Guy! I call him Guy. I did play his editor at the Independent Spirit Awards once. Did he direct Birdman?
No.
No, who directed that?
I wish I could pull it up. Like, I could Google.
Spielberg. Was it Spielberg?
No. It was like,
it was another Spanish name. I'm confusing two Spanish names.
Yes, that's correct. That's what you're doing. I'm looking it up because it's bothering me.
How could I do something like that?
Alejandro G. Inarritu. I don't know.
It's not even close to Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, it's a little offensive.
Jesus Christ. What a fucking Jesus.
It's all good.
I'm going to get fired. All right. Well, this feels like a good place to take a break. So let's do that. And then we'll come back and we'll do some parting shots.
Wait, oh, I guess you checked in.
I guess I did. Like, I don't have, what else can I say? I talked about the commercial, right? That commercial about Rick, the 76-year-old who runs marathons.
That's all.
He's 76 and he runs marathons. Like, I just see Rick. I see Rick going like, I do other things. That's how he died, because he was angry that people only knew him for being 76 and running marathons. Okay, we'll be right back.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Long Shot Podcast. I certainly am. A lot of people don't realize how broad the listenership of the Long Shot Podcast is. I'm former President James K. Polk, and I've been a huge Long Shot fan for a long time. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite things is their Twitter account. So, why don't you go to Twitter right now, and if you're following the Long Shot, great, and if you're not, follow them at Long Shot Podcast, and look up an old tweet of theirs, perhaps the link to an episode, and quote tweet it, send it out to all your Twitter followers. I know that as president, I tried to get the New Deal done and prevent the Civil War and keep the Russians from acquiring nuclear weapons, and I failed at all of those things. But one thing I think I still have a shot at is helping the Long Shot increase their listenership. So quote tweet and send out an endorsement. Former President James K. Polk. And now back to our show. Thank you.
We're back. You are listening to Incredibly Wiggly and Extremely Amorphous, a new title for the podcast. There was another one you said that I thought could be the new title of the podcast, which would be Conversations with People Who Used to Work at Universal with whom I have a good relationship still. But you would have to leave Universal and it would have to be just focused on me at that point. So in a few years, we can change the name of the podcast to that.
What did I say was so wiggly? I'm trying to think.
Just the rules for coming back to the office.
Yes.
You said they were wiggly and amorphous. Which, whenever I hear two adjectives together, I think incredibly and extremely, or extremely and incredibly.
Right.
All right. So, time for a segment on the show that we like to call Parting Shots. I'll go first. Obviously, since I am here in my place all the time, I've had lots and lots of time to better myself, to do things to make myself a superior person. I've done none of those things. I've watched a lot of television. So I have a couple of recommendations for people. And I think one of them...
with Rick.
The commercial with Rick. God, I love that commercial.
I mean, it made me laugh. You just describing it.
Yeah, and that would be great if it was supposed to be funny.
Right,
you know?
Right.
Do you remember? Here's another version like that I would like to see is if there was one that was like, do you remember my sister's neighbor Rick? Oh yeah, the 53-year-old who is a chef. No, you fucking asshole. You don't pay attention to anything. and then she just throws a pot at him. Like, I would like it if that
They
was...
get divorced because he doesn't know the age of all of her sister's neighbors.
He's 54 and he's a line cook. He's not a chef. No, I'm going to recommend two shows, and I think one of them is possibly a show. Well, we'll get to that in a second. The first one is a show called Jet. It's on HBO Max. Maybe I talked about this last week. I can't even remember. See, the problem is when there's nobody else here, I'm just talking in a vacuum.
Yeah.
In space, no one can hear you scream, So I have no point of reference to anything. And by the way, what that means is I have no feedback on anything I'm saying. So I'm just rambling.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked last week and I was like, I have been rambling about nothing for 40 fucking minutes.
That's amazing. Like, that's a talent.
It's not a talent. If you listen to it, you're like, this guy is just, yeah. But anyway, the show, the first show, which I may have talked about last week, is a show called Jet, and it's on HBO Max. And it's basically film noir, but it just was made a couple years ago. It's Carla Gugino.
I've seen like the art, but I haven't watched it.
And it's really enjoyable. Like, super dark. Like, the first episode, you're just like, oh my God. And there's one guy, I always get hung up on people when they do accents and it doesn't come across well. So there's one guy who's got a major role in the show and his accent just is not up to snuff. But she's incredible. Like, I love her for a lot of reasons, but she's also just great in this show. The show is made by her, or was written and directed by her partner, who obviously knows everything. Yeah. And it's so evident in the material and the way things come across. But there's other cast members that are also great, and it's just a really fun in a bad way kind of story, really enjoyable. And then the other show that I've been watching, which I just can't get over how fucking good it is. And that's why I say I think somebody who listens to this show might have recommended it to me a long time ago. And I started to watch the first episode, and for whatever reason, it didn't click at that time. And now I'm like a couple of episodes into the second season, and it's so goddamn good. Is a show called Patriot on Amazon.
I think I've heard other people talk about it.
I don't even know how to describe it, because it's like, it's a spy story. Like, the guy is an intelligence agent, but it's really grounded about stuff like that. And then also completely fantastical, but also lyrical. And it feels like what I really like about it, I have no idea if this is true or not, but it feels like it's just all the things that were interesting to the guy who created it, and he just put them all in the show, There's, I don't want to spoil anything, and I'm not going to, but I do just want to describe one thing that I love that I just saw today. That's a great example. It feels like, if this means anything to anybody, it feels like it's sort of a combination, like an International Spy version of a combination of like Elmore Leonard and Carl Hyacin. Like, every character is so specific and weird. And like, there's a security guard who works at the company, and the first time you see him, he's just like walking by, and the guy's at the job for the first day, and the security guard is walking by, and the secretary at the desk, or the receptionist, just goes, "That's Jack Birdbath. He used to be a cop till he killed a 9-year-old boy." And That's the first thing you find out. And then it's just like this weird, crazy character with this incredible history. It turns out the kid was not 9 years old. He was actually 14, but and it's like so dark and sad, but also hilarious at the same time. And I mean, I keep saying it's an international spy story, but it's also just about the relationship between a father and a son, which I think is what makes it so compelling, is like the father and the son, and then the other son, the two brothers relationship is really fascinating. But there's a thing that I watched today where he's talking. Here's another thing about it is it's all about the spy stuff. There's so many things about it, but there's a lot of weird coincidences where people just kind of run into each other on the street. But it's all, the whole first season is set in Luxembourg, which is like a tiny, tiny little country in Europe. So to me, it's totally believable that these coincidences would happen because of where it's set. And the reason it's set in Luxembourg is because Luxembourg is a big banking place for people who do shady bank deals. And they're doing deals with the Iranians. So there's this whole aspect of the Iranians arming themselves with nuclear arms. And they keep showing, it just makes me laugh because they keep showing Obama in the background talking about the Iranians. Like they're always like sitting and there's a TV in the background with Obama talking about the Iranians. And that makes me laugh because there's a movie called Killing Them Softly, which takes place at a different time and is a different story. Also, not as good, but a decent movie. But there's constantly Obama in the background talking about the recession and getting out of the recession. Like it takes place a couple of years before this when the recession was the big thing. Anyway, in this episode I watched today, this great actor, what's his name? Terry O'Quinn, I think. He was on Lost. He was, which I never watched, but he's great. And he's clearly being interrogated by, I don't know what, a congressional committee or something after this whole thing has gone down. And so he's testifying. He's like, you have to understand this. You have to understand this Iranian guy is really smart. Look, every year, 300 Secret Service agents get fired for flirting with women. And the interrogator behind the camera goes, I thought we were talking about this Iranian cleric. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to get there. And he talks about this Iranian cleric and how, okay, so these Secret Service guys get fired for flirting with women, and the Secret Service guys defend themselves because they say we're wearing suits and sunglasses and women find that incredibly attractive. So they come up and talk to us. It's not our fault. We're not purposely flirting with them. So this Iranian cleric realizes that's a problem. So he has a group of his bodyguards. They wear, and then they show the bodyguards and they're like, he goes, they wear ridiculous outfits and you see them and they're all wearing identical short pants and little jackets. And he goes, and he gives them terrible haircuts. And then they sort of pan across their faces and they all have like Beatles 1963 haircuts. All these Iranian guys who are like the bodyguards to this. And it just made me laugh so fucking hard. And then you hear the person behind the camera go, that's pretty smart. And he goes, see? So it's like, and so then what that made me do was I was like, I don't even know how many people there are like how many agents are there in the Secret Service? Is it possible that 300 of them get fired every year for flirting with women? I don't think that's possible. But then I was like looking up how many agents there are in the Secret Service, and there's 3,200 agents at any given time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I just feel like that's a detail that lodged in his head of like a Secret Service agent got fired. And he was like, how can I use this in a way that informs a character on the show in an interesting way? And there's just so many details like that are so, they're so funny. But also it's all about like murdering people and killing themselves and, international spy stuff and the Iranians getting armed with nuclear weapons. So I highly recommend it. And I especially recommend it because I would love to talk about it with somebody who's watched it, because I can't tell if I'm just like in love with the show because of my own weird proclivities, or if it's actually
No, I've
good
heard
or not.
I don't remember who, but I've heard people rave about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seems like the secret.
It's
It
just
never.
2 seasons. It's
Yeah.
on Amazon Prime, and it's really great. There's so many things about it that are so great. Like I can't. I want to say them, but I can't. Because I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Don't say that.
So anyway, that's my parting shot. I mean, I have a bunch of things here, but none of them are fun. I will say that when I'm watching this show on Amazon Prime, I have a Roku box now.
Same.
So I just go watch this show, Patriot. But what happens is, because this show is taking place in Luxembourg, there's often people who speak French. And for some reason, every time I turn and it's subtitled, obviously, every time I turn on my Amazon Prime, or every time I turn my Roku and go to Amazon Prime, the subtitles are set for German. So I have to stop, go to the subtitles, change it to, it says English, but it's doing it in German. So I have to go to the subtitles, change it from English to German, back to English, and then start it again.
Every single time?
Every single time. And I forget. So I'll be like halfway through the episode, and then somebody will say something in French and it'll come up in German. And I'm like, God fucking damn it. So if Amazon, if you're listening, which of course they're listening because they listen to fucking everything at this point. There's probably 11 devices in my house right now listening for Amazon to everything I'm saying. Can you fix the goddamn Amazon Prime on Roku so that it doesn't default to German subtitles every time? Thank you.
They're on it.
Amber, parting shots.
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, this was going to be something I talked about on the last podcast. When things didn't feel as scary to me. They might have been scary, but I hadn't.
I think 2 weeks ago they were okay.
Internalized that. Yeah. I went to my first dance class since I think 2019, and that is demolished now. The sweat spot. It's not just closed. It's literally demolished. It's like, we get it, metaphors. like enough. But one of the teachers from the sweat spot is teaching classes, like renting a dance studio in Eagle Rock. And my friend Lampy told me about it. And so we went, and I was nervous. I mean, I'm incredibly out of shape. Being in a room with that many people, and then also the thing about dance classes is there's a mirror in front of you the entire time. So I thought, like, this might be tough. I might come home kind of upset.
Time for a little self-reflection. Thank you, other metaphor. I can't get away from these goddamn metaphors.
Right. But it was the exact opposite. Again, this growth that you mentioned earlier, it wasn't like, oh, I was incredible. I'm an amazing dancer. I'm going to be on Broadway. But I was just so thankful that I had a body that could move still, and that, like, in the mirror, seeing all the arms moving at the same time, like, it was something that I haven't experienced in so long. And again, I was so thankful that I was alive. I was thankful that my body moved at all. I was thankful that I could afford to take this dance class. Like it. And like, I could see my body in the mirror, and it looked cool. It's fine. Like, again, I'm not a supermodel, but it's like, we're fine. Everything's fine. And I it was great. It was everything I needed for, like, body, mind, soul. It was like, it really scratched a lot of itches. And so I went back last week, but the mask mandate was now in effect. And so it was the same amount of people, and we did an intense cardio hour-and-a-half dance class, all wearing masks. It was very straight. It was very, like, of a time. This is going to be it's going to be an interesting way to set things to know the time period. You just add a mask.
Right.
So it was, weird and different to be like breathing really hard but wearing a mask. And I also, part of me
Which
was
makes
like,
it harder.
Right. And part of me is like, I don't
That's
know.
what the government is trying to do. They're trying to make it harder for you to breathe. That's why they
Right.
want you to wear a mask.
But also part of me thinks like, I believe in masks, obviously, like what we talked about early, but I don't know if that many people in a room for that amount of time
Is the mask
breathing
going to
that
make a
heavily.
difference? Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I went home a little bit weirded out about that, but yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like you're right. It probably makes literally no difference in that situation. But unfortunately, the only way to know for sure is to do experiments, lots of experiments.
Right. And we don't
get data. And that's not going to be top of the list of the experiments they're going to do. And so the guidance is going to stay the same from the CDC or the NIH or whoever you want to take your guidance from, Fox News or, the WHO.
But yeah,
it's only Teenage Wasteland.
It was really great to have dance back in my life. I didn't realize how much I missed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things that would be great to have back in life at some point.
Today, we went for Smudgy's one-on-one training again, and we went to The Habit, a burger place.
Smudgy, it's leg day. Let's go.
And Jeff and I sat in a booth and ate our burgers. And, you're wearing a mask. It's what we talked about before. It's insane. You wear a mask, and then you just take it off to eat. So, again, is it doing anything? I don't know. But I said, Jeff, when was the last time you sat in a booth? Like, I couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy that we're all everything is for the first time again.
Yeah. What a fucking time. What a time. And, as we discussed, it ain't going away anytime soon. Unless we decide to ignore it and just pretend it's not a big deal and it's not happening. And there's people going to die, but most of those people are going to be old or they're going to be fat. So who cares, Oh, here's the last thing, and then we can go. The thing I forgot to mention about the guys in the terrible suits.
I was hoping that you were going to talk about that life insurance commercial again. Like, there's something I forgot about that commercial.
No, I mean, there is a lot that I forgot about that commercial. But no, the thing I forgot to say about those guys in the terrible suits with the terrible haircuts, the bodyguards for the Iranian Clark, who's ramping up to get nuclear weapons and destroy the world in Patriot, is that he calls them the action boys. And that's just another thing that, like, that instead of Secret Service, they're the action boys.
It's really funny.
And so then they show a guy speaking Arabic, going, saying a bunch of stuff, and then going, "Action boys!" It's a delight. It's a delight. But I think you do have to be in the right frame of mind because, like I said, there's some really dark stuff about it too.
Yeah.
And anyway, check it out. All right. Well, this feels like a good place to take a break. So
no, absolutely not. We need to go.
Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been another episode of Incredibly Wiggly and Extremely Amorphous. We appreciate you guys taking the time to spend time with us. And we'll see you next time. Anything else? No.
Bye.
Okay. Yep. Bye.